Well, good morning from the shores of Loch Katrine. This is day 2 of the Great Trossachs Path. Well, good morning from the shores of Loch Katrine. This is day 2 of the Great Trossachs Path. I'm walking and talking to you because the midges are well and truly out in force, and every time I stand still, they're eating me alive. So today we've got the trip down to the bottom of Loch Katrine to do, where we're hoping to get something to eat. There's a café down at the pier there. That should be a good stop for breakfast. And then we're on to Loch Achray, I think it is, and then on to Loch Venachar to finish. So yeah, we're going to go and get the tents packed up. I might even get my midgie net on while we're doing that, and we'll make tracks along to the south end of Loch Katrine. As always, leave no trace. So we've got about 4.5 miles to get down to the other end of Loch Katrine, so that'll take us about an hour and a half, and we should be down there and getting breakfast. So this was the point where we had planned to stay for the night, Venachar Point, and you can see there's somebody in a tent just down in the middle here. There's plenty of space for quite a number of tents. So yeah, this would be another good alternative if you can make it this far. Say John and I, we struggle to get down here. It sits out in a wee promontory out in the middle of Loch Katrine, and you've got, say, stunning views in both directions, but to be honest, we were kind of done last night. This would have been good had there been a bit of a breeze down here, but last night there was not a breath of wind, so the midges would have been just as bad here as they are where we were. Right, we're not far away. Trossachs Pier is just down here, and where we're going to stop and get breakfast. I'm ready for it, I'll be honest. So that's us. We're nearly down at the Trossachs Pier at Loch Katrine, south end. And it's the most beautiful part of Scotland. There's fabulous wee islands just sitting on the end of the loch here. The geese are going crazy over behind us here. But yeah, it's a beautiful wee bit to walk. Now, if you're coming to do the Great Trossachs Path, it is about, what, 10 plus miles of road walking, but the roads are private, so we've seen 2 cars over the 2 days we've been walking along here. It's not difficult going on the feet. It's definitely one you could cycle. Yeah, we've got Ben Venue up ahead of us, trying to see if there's anyone up on the top of there. There's bound to be. There's always folk up on the top of Ben Ann and Ben Venue for first thing in the morning. But it's another calm, quiet day. And yeah, it's just been a lovely, quiet wee walk along the lochside this morning. Unlike Loch Lomond, a lot of the lochside walking you do on the Great Trossachs Path is actually down by the loch without the trees kind of blocking your views over to the other side. So it's quite nice, peaceful. Right, we're about a quarter of a mile away from the Trossachs Pier, where we've seen a few bikes. You can hire the electric mountain bikes down at the pier here. So we're hoping that now that that's open, that means the cafe's open too. It's a coffee and hopefully another roll to start us off and fuel us around to Callander, which will be the next place where we can get food. Right, not long to go till we're down to the Trossachs Pier. So behind me here is the Glenfinglas Falls. This is coming from the Glenfinglas Reservoir, which sits up the hill from here. Now, strangely enough, I was just talking about Glenfinglas. A few years back, John and I went up to try out his new tent on a circuit you can do up along the side of Glenfinglas, up at the Glenfinglas Reservoir. At the visitor centre at the bottom is where I picked up the map for the Great Trossachs Path, and it's taken me a few years to get round to doing it. I'm going to let you see the map when we stop for breakfast, but yeah, that is coming down through the hillside there and out into Loch Katrine, which of course Loch Katrine feeds a lot of the water supply for the city of Glasgow. So yeah, that's quite interesting. I did wonder how or where Loch Katrine was filling up from, but there you go. It's coming from the Glenfinglas Reservoir down the Glenfinglas Falls. So, right, no more detours because we do need to get breakfast. I'm in a calorie deficit at the minute. So if you were really determined to make it all the way down to the Trossachs Pier, they have these eco-lodges right down at the other end, which, you know, the eco-lodges, great for staying in, you don't need to carry a tent. And the other side of it is you'll have somewhere to eat in the evening because there's the restaurant right down at the pier side. So yeah, there's another option. And if you're coming up here on a holiday, they also have electric car charging points. So if you're not walking, you're looking for somewhere to stay, the Loch Katrine eco-lodges could be a shout. Right, I did say I was going to speak to you when we got back down to the Trossachs Pier, and there's been lots of things to see, so we're finally here. We're at the Loch Katrine Pier. Well, that's us all fueled up. I have had a roll with black pudding, fried egg and tatty scone, all washed down with a latte. John and I were just talking about this, that this trail, if you didn't want to carry a lot of food, there is somewhere to get food on both days. You can get breakfast at the Inversnaid Hotel, fill up there, and then you're over to the Pier Café at Stronachlacher. And then this morning we've had, what, a 1.5 hour walk down to get breakfast here at the Trossachs Pier at the end of Loch Katrine. And at the end of the day, we've got the chippy in the centre of Callander. So yeah, it's not one that you have to carry a lot of food for. And whilst it is a little bit pricey, because you are a captive audience here, it's food's available. And let's be honest, you're saving on your campsite because it's going to be wild camping. Right, we're going to get the water refilled because I'm just looking outside the window here and there's one of the Scottish water fountains. So we'll get the water bottles filled back up here before we make our way along the side of Loch Achray and onto Loch Venachar. Right, fueled up and we're ready to go. So that's us leaving Loch Katrine behind and we're now heading along to Loch Achray. I get my Achrays and Arklets mixed up. I have been this whole trip. Loch Achray is the first one you hit when you reach Inversnaid, and then you're on to the big long one for the trip, which is Loch Katrine. We're now on to Loch Achray, just about to reach that at the end of the road here, and then we're on to Loch Venachar, and that's the last loch you'll hit. So it's the 5 lochs way, really, if you include Loch Lomond at the start. Yeah, you do have a little bit of road walking here, and it is a busy one because Loch Katrine is quite a popular location for tourists. So just a little bit of care needed once you get down on this little section of road. Then we're back onto the, it's a trail path again, and we're going to go around the other side of Loch Achray, which again is part of a driving lochs trail, but I don't expect that we're going to see a lot of traffic on that today. Once you get between Loch Achray and Loch Venachar, we're going to cut back again onto the other side, which is the road side, but we'll be on a path that takes you along above the road, a bit like it did alongside of Loch Achray. So yeah, there has been a fair bit of road walking, but the roads that we've been on have been private roads with no vehicles on them, or very little vehicles on them. So as long as you don't mind a little bit of walking on tarmac for a weekend, this could be a very good trail for you. Just as you see the camping management zone, you're wanting to take a right. Now, it hasn't taken us very long to get here, and you'll see the signpost for Loch Katrine, and there's the sign for the Great Trossachs Path again, and we're on the Benvenue Hill Path to Brigaturk. So for all that was a little road section where the traffic's reasonably busy, you're only on it for, what, 5 minutes? And then we're back onto these nice paths, taking you along to the car park that, if you've ever climbed Benvenue, fabulous hill, just below the height of a Munro, but it's a great day's walking, and the car park for that is just along the end here. So yep, we're back off the roads again. Well, I'm saying off the roads, we're still on a road, but it's a quiet, private road. So normally you'd be heading down to the Loch Achray Hotel, but John and I have made the mistake of not following diversion signs before. Yeah, if you've watched our series on the Callander Trail, you'll know that John and I totally ignored a diversion sign which took us about a mile down a hill to where a whole bunch of trees had fallen over and it was impassable, so we had to walk the mile back. So we've learned our lesson. It says diversion, we're going to follow the diversion, and hopefully it'll bring us back to the correct spot. So for all the Star Wars fans out there, this section of the trail just down from Loch Katrine is giving off absolute Endor vibes. Forest moon. You can imagine the biker scouts zooming through here and all the Ewoks hiding in the trees. But yeah, it's peaceful, but it does remind me, say, of that forest moon of Endor from Star Wars. It's lovely, if not a bit hilly. And that's fine, we haven't had a lot of hills to do today, but the diversion's certainly taken us up and down a wee bit more. But yeah, it's a beautiful forest walk in amongst these massive pine trees. Beautiful. Right, I'm going to put the camera away because I can't breathe. We have now climbed 200 metres to get up to that diversion at the top there, which we know we're going to be heading down onto the side of Loch Achray, so It's 200 metres. Had it not been for the diversion, we wouldn't have needed. Anyway, it's good for the body. I keep telling myself that. So we're getting good views up onto the ridgeline that takes you round to Ben Venue now. And this is the way you would come generally if you were heading up onto this. It's a great mountain. It's one my dad used to take us up, but we always did it from the Loch Achray side, which, memory serves me right, it was always really boggy on that section. This is a drier way to do it, and there's a decent path. Takes you a big chunk of the way up before you eventually join onto the mountain path that takes you onto the summit of Ben Venue. But again, it's just below the height of a Munro, so it's not an insignificant thing to climb. But a great day out in the mountains if it's something you fancy doing. Maybe is that a future vlog, perhaps? The Corbett that is Ben Venue. Right, next diversion point is down the hill and back down towards Loch Achray. Well, that certainly was a long way for a shortcut. That's us, the road that is just behind me here. That's where we should have come up. It's been about a 5-kilometre detour to get round here, so we're reckoning the distances are going to be more like 35 miles by the time we finish this, but that's us. We're now on the Brigaturk to Callander road, and we're back on the official Great Trossachs Path and off the diversion. So that's us, we've just reached the Loch Achray campsite. If you're doing the Three Lochs drive, this is one of the places where you could come and spend an evening. I don't think you'd be walking this far on your first day, unless you're Liam from A Good Bloke Outdoors, who seems to cover all the distance. This would maybe be a bit much for one night. Oh yeah, the campsite's down the hill here. So yeah, I can see they've got, how many is that? 17 pitches for tents at the Loch Achray campsite. And you're down this wee path here and down to where all the pitches are. I don't know if you can see that through the trees. Probably not picking that up, but yeah, it's right out on the loch side, so yeah, quite nice if you're into your paddleboarding and camping and you want to be away from it all. This is one you can actually drive to along the Three Lochs drive. Now this does mean that this road, we are expecting to see a few more vehicles along here today. So as we're heading along here, the Three Lochs drive only goes in one direction. There's no access along this way. So we're expecting any vehicles that we meet will be coming towards us because it's a one-way system. But it does mean that, you know, we don't have to worry about the vehicles travel along behind us. We'll see them coming. Before they hit us. Yeah. So I'm hoping now that we're down on Loch side, that's the hills done for the day, because we've climbed an extra 200 metres that normally you wouldn't have to do on the Great Trossachs Path. And I was just discussing with John, is it a path? I think 2/3 of this we've been on roads now. It has been quiet private roads for a big chunk of it around Loch Katrine. And now we're on to, it's a forestry road that takes you along this Three Lochs drive, which again, we're not expecting to be too busy. The main road is on the other side of the loch, so. The Great Trossachs Road. Should just have called it the Great Trossachs Way. Because there is a wee bit of paths, but it's mainly on very quiet roads. Well, that's us. We've reached the end of Loch Achray. Just one more loch to go. Loch Venachar right in the centre of the picture here. You've got that very popular wee hill of Ben Ann, and then across to the left here, you've got Ben Venue. So it seems like quite a popular wee bit for folk to come in their cars to get away from everything. And if you're into car camping, it's good that this is provided for you. Yeah, this could be a weekend trip away for Jen and I think. I think she would enjoy that. Anyway, next stop, we're crossing over onto the other shoreline. travel along past Loch Venachar, a favourite of mine for the paddleboarding. If you've ever seen my one and only paddleboarding video, you'll know that that is one of my favourite places to go, mainly because it's not very deep. But yeah, right, Andy's put a sprint on because John has headed off ahead. I need to catch up with him. Well, just beyond Loch Achray, we've just stumbled across Achray Farm, which sells fresh veg and, more importantly, ice cream. We've just passed, I don't know if you can see in the background here, there are little resident goats. I think the ice cream's made out of goat's milk, if I remember rightly. But there's one of the goats standing right at the gate, stopping the kids getting out and back to their car, so yeah. Cheeky goats at Achray Farm. Right, time to stop and get some fresh made ice cream. Well, I have chosen to have the strawberry and rhubarb sorbet, and I've also got a can of cross and press rhubarb soft drink as well. They're not making it with the goat's milk at the minute because they've got little baby kids, so of course they get first preference on the milk, but once the kids have grown up a wee bit, they'll be back to making the ice cream with the goat's milk again. So let's give this a wee try. That's really refreshing. It's just what we're needing actually at this point in the day, because it's starting to get warm again. Anyway, we're going to enjoy this and then make our way along and onto the opposite side of Loch Venachar. So back there was the Brigham Michael. So Brigham Michael Cottage we've just passed. So I'm going to guess that this is the Brigham Michael. I don't know. Anyway, we're crossing over, and this is us officially now joining the path on the other side. Certainly got cooler since those clouds came across. Anyway, fingers crossed we won't need to worry about waterproof jackets. One thing we've noticed on this path over from Loch Lomond, the number of really beautiful houses and wee cottages that people have along the route are just stunning. I know it's not for everyone, but I would certainly, oh, hang on a minute, I'm going to spin you around because somebody has a double-decker bus parked in their garden. So that's a bit random. What is this? All right, so this is actually a pub. You can book a table on the bus apparently. Weird. I don't know if it's a working bar or not, but yeah, a pub with a double-decker bus parked outside. Random. You know, I've driven along the road from Callander along the side of Loch Venachar quite a few times. And it's amazing the things you miss when you're driving, that if you were to just come and do this walk, you see so much more when you're walking than you do when you're zipping past in a car. Right, we are now turning right and along towards Callander. This is a well-maintained little bit. They seem to have new walkways here. We've just crossed over the road there, and we're now going to be heading up the hill, and that's going to take us along the side of Loch Venachar and down onto Cycle Route 7, back onto the old railway that takes you into Callander. This is the Lendrick Hill Visitor Centre at Glenfinglas, and this is where I got the map for the Great Trossachs Path probably about 2 or 3 years ago. The Glenfinglas Reservoir walk is a cracking one to do. It's a good one for cyclists actually. You park at the Glenfinglas Estate car park at Lendrick Hill, and then you're heading up. And once you get along the side of Glenfinglas, the path splits into two. You can go left or right, because it takes you round about the mountain in the middle, right round the back, and back to where you started. It's a loop. There's a cracking wee spot to camp if you take the right fork just before you start to climb up the hill properly. But yeah, Lendrick Hill. This is the place where you want to get your Great Trossachs Paths map. So if you're down this way, you know, check it out. Does it look like I'm sweating? The Great Trossachs Path follows the Lendrick Hill path up to Glenfinglas. I forgot how steep that is. I can actually see the sweat on my head. We've stopped at a little viewpoint here that's got a bench just to catch our breath more than anything else and to try and cool down a bit. But we're now getting our first views down to Loch Venachar. That's good. Well, that's us climbed a good chunk of Lendrick Hill and we've finally met the path. That's where you would head off to go to Glenfinglas. We're now on the Callander path heading along, and hopefully this is a chance for me to cool down because we have climbed a fair wee height there to get up along the side, and that's at roughly at the 12-mile mark for us for today. So the legs were already tired, and then you've got a steep uphill section, kind of similar to that bit in Kinloch Leaving on your final day of the West Highland Way. It just keeps going up and up and up forever. Anyway, I am definitely looking forward to getting home and getting a shower. I'm feeling kind of sticky. The temperature's still at about 18 degrees, but it certainly feels suddenly a lot more humid. Anyway, we're going up again. I'm going to put the camera away and we'll speak to you a little bit further along. So our last view is down to Ben Venue and Loch Achray, and this is the beginning of our last loch, Loch Venachar. This is a favourite. I think there's people out there at the minute right in the centre of the screen on the paddleboards. It's certainly one of my favourite spots, but we've just got the process now of travelling along the whole side of it to get to near the Ben Leddy car park, where we'll meet the old railway line that used to take you up to Callander via the Glen Ogle Trail. So at least we know that part of the path's going to be flat. But yeah, we're now 13 miles in. That detour round at the side of Ben Venue has fairly taken us a few extra miles that we weren't planning on doing today, so legs are starting to get tired. But never mind. Nearly there. Probably about 5 miles to go. Well, that's us made it to the end of the Loch Venachar section of the Great Trossachs Path, and we've now got just 1.25 miles along Cycle Route 7 to go. So we do expect to be bumping into a bit more of civilization as we head this last mile back to Callander. We're already sitting at 17.75 miles. So it's going to be, what's that, closer to 19. So that diversion has added an extra 3 miles onto our trip today. So yeah, if you're coming to do this anytime soon and that diversion's still in place, that's something just to keep in mind, that it's going to be a long old day on the second day. We've actually, I think without that diversion we would have made the 4 o'clock bus. We are on a Sunday service, so as it is, it's going to be the 6 o'clock one, but which is fine. It means we can get a chippy. Right, 1.25 miles to go, and I'll bring you back when we get to Callander. Well, that's us. We have made it to the village square in Callander. That has been a 19-mile day today from where we camped at Loch Katrine. We reckon we've had an extra, 3 miles with the diversions that we had at the base of Ben Venue. So the whole journey has taken us 2 days. Yesterday we got the ferry across at 10:30 to the Inversnaid Hotel, and then we're up the hill along the side of Loch Achray, and then on to Loch Katrine. We stopped, of course, at the fabulous Pier Café for something to eat. And then, yeah, by the time we got to 14 miles on day one, that was us. We were done, but we were so glad to find that little spot. And then today, we weren't expecting the diversion, so it should have been a 16-mile day, and it's ended up a 19-mile day. Anyway, the path along the side of Loch Achray was, yeah, it was all right. So the bit in the woods seemed to last a bit longer. And of course, by the end of the day, that path along the side of Loch Venachar just seemed to go on and on and on. So we're quite glad to get here. We have missed the 4 o'clock bus, so that gives us an opportunity to get ourselves a chippy tea and get on the 6 o'clock bus back into Stirling, and then from Stirling back to Larbour. So this has been the Great Trossachs Path. I've been G from Redman Walking. If you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. And in the meantime, go and create your own adventures, and we'll see you on the next one.